No, I remember Southwestern having some slobber knockers
Oh,
with
dogfights.
with
Yeah.
North Laurel, ground and pound, just really competitive matches.
Yeah, I mean North Laurel, they're always a very physical football team, and they like to, like you said, ground and pound, and they're going to hit you and hit you hard, and they're going to be very fundamentally sound. So we know that that's going to be another tough opponent.
Of course, you wrap up the regular season at home versus Madison Central. I like the fact that Madison Central's on the schedule. I like that.
Yeah, Madison Central is always a very good test. Like I said, they're going to present a lot of athletes on the field, and to end the season, it'll be a good look for us before we head into the playoffs.
Speaking of those playoffs, I know you're hoping to make a long run into those playoffs, and you can't do it alone. Even though you do a great job, you cannot do it alone. You've got a great coaching staff and support staff behind you.
Absolutely. When I first, took the job at Southwestern. I had to try to put together a staff. About everyone, was leaving from the former staff, and so tried to piece that together. And I feel very good about our staff. We've kind of got to learn each other, and a lot of new faces, across the board, and I'm very excited about it. We've got a couple of alumni, Macaulay Kirk and Rob Lewis.
I like that.
That's helping us out, and those two, do a great job. And one of my former players, George Gregory, is helping us out, and so excited to have him. And then one of my old rivals back in our middle school days, Dwight Engel. Coach Engel does a great job. I'm very, very happy to have him, and he'll be our special team coordinator this year. And just veteran guy that has a lot of good leadership qualities about him. Eric Mitten's been with me for a long time. He coaches our wide receivers and our JV team. And a guy from last year, Alec Wooders, is going to be continuing to help us. And Mark Payne, be my defensive coordinator, and he comes with me from Taylor County. We had a great run at Taylor County working together, and he just does a phenomenal job putting our kids in position to be successful defensively. And Matt Norse, he's another guy that came with me from my former staff, and he'll be coaching tight ends. And so we feel like we've got a good staff, and looking forward to working with them.
Coach, a couple more minutes left. I know you'd be remiss if you didn't talk about your athletic director and your principal as well. Nothing but glowing remarks for them. We were talking about them earlier.
Yeah, I was telling you earlier, it was very hard to leave where I came from.
I would imagine.
We had a really good thing going.
Absolutely.
And I loved the area that I was at, and we were having success and everything was rolling. But Miss Ellis and Coach Eaton came at me, and they just were great the whole time, and it was just administration that you felt like you wanted to work for long term.
Yeah.
And so they really helped sell it on to me, and I appreciate them, and I appreciate all the way from the top, Mr. Richardson, Mr. Cook, all those guys, Miss Wiles, they all, have been great and supportive, and we appreciate that. And I appreciate, our Southwestern fan base, our booster program. Nick Hibbert and Alan Fisher head that, and we appreciate what they do. And just the overall Southwestern fan base, and all the support. I really appreciate what we've gotten so far.
Coach, we're lucky to have you. We're happy you're home. We're happy you're the fourth head coach of the Southwestern Warriors, and
see what happens.
It'll get there.
Well, Coach, it's been a pleasure. I know that the community is abuzz, and I personally am excited about the Jason Foley era kicking off here at Southwestern, and I look forward to seeing the great things that you do here in the blue and orange, and I'm excited. Fan number one right here.
Well, thank you, and I appreciate you and your support, and even when I was going to talk to the youth kids, you were great the whole time, so I appreciate that.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate you, Josh, and Buffalo Wings and Rings for having us, and thank you very much.
Coach, go get them. We're gonna look forward to it this year. It's gonna be a great year.
Well, we're gonna go at it. We'll have a lot of fun.
So. Slay some up, baby. Let's go do it.
Let's go.
Go Warriors.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Coach Jason Foley. Entrust Counseling Services, they are here, and they have got all kinds of prizes. They're handing them out left and right. Stop them by to enter here at Buffalo Wings and Rings. Their new website just launched today, entrust/healthcare.com. 79-cent wings, that's where Coach is going. 79-cent wings, plus they got drink specials until 8. Buffalo Wings and Rings. My friend, it's going to be great to go down the road with you this year.
Absolutely, Josh. I look forward to working with you and learning this new gig, and I look forward to learning a lot and enjoying a good season of Southwestern football.
Absolutely. He's Michael Gregg. I'm Josh McKinney. LakeCumberlandSports.com.
Our Warriors.
We're doing a couple fundraisers this year. We're selling spirit cards right now. So if anybody's interested in any contact one of us or Brittany Shoemaker. And here soon we're going to be selling mums, and we have Princess Day coming up.
So girls, tell me your favorite thing about Friday Night Lights.
My favorite thing about Friday Night Lights is definitely just cheering on our boys and just giving them that extra energy to just do everything they can.
My favorite thing about Friday Night Lights would be cheering on the sidelines and supporting our boys.
So you said you had Princess Day coming up. I think all of us that grew up in the school district went to Princess Day, but explain it for everybody and all those parents that want to send their kids.
Okay, so Princess Day is basically just like where all of us cheerleaders, we dress up as a different princess, and we have different stations. Like last year I was Tinkerbell, and our girls made wands, and then they either got to take home a piece of candy or some pixie dust. So like each princess just has like a different thing, and it's just something for them to just come in, have fun, and just really just hang out with us.
Awesome. So I know that you all have a pretty young group this year. So what's that like being seniors and leading that team?
It's actually a lot of fun just because they have so much energy. So it's just really easy to just like go in and you don't even feel like you're putting in work. You just feel like you're having fun with a bunch of your friends.
They're all my little babies, so it's sometimes it can get frustrating, but other than all the frustration and everything, it's fun. It's very enjoyable.
So last thing, I know that you all have competitions coming up pretty soon with cheerleading because they're year-round. How have you all been getting ready for competition season?
We have our private coaching with our Jason, and it's every week he comes in, he helps us do our stunts and work on tumbling, and just really does anything and everything he can for us to make sure we have the best routine we can and just go out there and look amazing.
Holly, do you have anything to throw in about cheer or football this season?
No, I'm just ready to cheer on the Warriors. Go Warriors!
So this is the Southwestern.
But that's a heck of an opener. We got Southwestern, who reached the Final Eight last year before they ran into a Pulaski County team that went on to play in the semi-state. That's two of the four that are going to be there Friday night. Now, Belfry, I don't know how they slipped into this dance because they're too busy winning state championships every year to come down here and play football. And then how'd you get Lexington?
Well, you know, we've
Lexington Catholic down here.
Well, you know, it's become a very big bowl game, which is a
has.
great problem to have, and we're thrilled about it and thrilled to have all that excitement that we're going to have surrounding it. But, you know, we've always tried our best to sign local schools.
Right.
Very local schools, and just, you know, continue to get no answers. So we gotta get the best that we can get, and
you did a pretty good job.
We're glad to have
you could get.
Lexington Catholic and Belfry, two very quality programs, obviously perennial state championship contenders, and it's going to be an exciting bowl game. You know, you've got Bo Allen, who's the leader for Mr. Football as a preseason candidate, going to be a future UK quarterback. He's already committed. You've also got the winningest high school football coach ever, and Coach Philip Haywood, the Belfry Pirates, coming to town. So a lot of exciting stuff.
After Catholic, on the road 3 weeks in a row. Wayne County, Corbin, Henry Clay. Wow.
Tough stuff. You know, all those guys can play. Wayne County's obviously a very strong program and have been for a long time. And Corbin's been in the state championship game 2 years in a row and very close to winning a state title last year. Perennial powerhouse in the mountains. Henry Clay, Lexington School with all those athletes, and they're not that far removed from the 6A state championship game, so they're no easy opponents.
Before you get to the district, Madison Southern at home.
And
a home game.
A year ago, they're in the state championship game, so, you know, on we go. Madison Southern's a good football program, of course, home of Damian Harrison, by the way. Congratulations, Damian, a rookie with the New England Patriots. We're excited about that. Good luck, Damian.
He may stick.
I think he will.
Thank you, Josh.
Looking forward to seeing him play. But Madison Southern, very good football program, and Coach John Clark's done a good job up there putting that group together. So obviously they're going to be a tough game. There is no break along the way. It's a schedule where we have to be at the top of our game every single Friday night, bring it the best that we can, and battle for 4 quarters to be in a chance to win.
Well, again, you're comfortable enough in your skin, I think, now 25 years or so into
Never.
this gig.
Never.
You're comfortable enough that
Never.
You're not all that. I know every game matters and every win counts, and we've had all this, but you got to play people to figure out if you're any good, and you got to keep playing people to get any better. So that schedule ought to, if it don't kill you, it'll make you strong.
Well, it's what people say, you know. But we've always played a tough schedule, you know. Years ago, there were people that used to complain that we didn't play a tough schedule, and they've all disappeared now. So, you know, we play a tough schedule and have been for many years, and it's just another season. We're ready to go.
New Look District, road games at Whitley and at North Laurel, home games against South Laurel and Southwestern.
And a couple of those teams, you know, have been in and out of the district over the years. Right. Obviously, we've got a long-running battle with North Laurel that we've had off and on, and play them in every other sport, so it's not uncommon for our people to see North Laurel. And so nice to have them back in the district, and Whitley County the same way. We've battled them in the playoffs the last few years. Now they've come into, or actually we've been moved into the Mountain District.
Exactly.
Is what happened.
Yes.
So Whitley County becomes a district opponent, and they're going to be a really good outfit. I tell you, the guy named Jep Irwin that we all know,
yes,
I've known for a long time, very good football coach. Coached at South Laurel many years ago, and then went down to Pelham, Alabama. Coached it in Atlanta area in Georgia for a long time, and has come back home, if you will, to Whitley County. So that's going to be a program to watch out for, because they've got good athletes, great facilities, great following, and Jep Irwin's the guy to put all that together.
And I hear this is going to be South Laurel's year. They've targeted. They're making some noise over that direction. That last year's 5-0 start or whatever it was just the beginning. That they're intending to play for district championships this year. So high hopes there too.
They really are. Coach Burdine even was quoted as saying that this was the most talent he's ever had since he's been coaching there at South Laurel. So you got to expect him to have a great season, and obviously Southwestern, you know, they're always ranked in the top 10. They're always ranked above us. They're always early season favorite to win a state championship, so they're going to be there as well, and that's going to be a battle. Crosstown rival, what can you say about that game?
I'll tell you what I can say about it. I'm glad we get to cover those games because you don't have to leave town to see some really good football. And as far
and
as
you know,
that's
become, I didn't mean to cut you off. I apologize. That's become a great rivalry.
It
really has. You can go down the street of this town anytime you want to and just pick anybody and mention one of the 3 schools, and they'll tell you who they're for.
Oh.
And they'll be loud and clear about it.
I've been interviewing football players over on the other side of this thing tonight and so far I did Somerset and Southwestern, and there's a consensus among the Southwestern players and among the Somerset players individually that they are the best team in town. And I'm sure some of your players are being interviewed right now, and I'm betting you some of them are claiming that they're by far the best. And I love it. Because
and that's what's great, because you
that's,
can prove it on the field.
Yes.
And I hate it that we don't play Somerset
anymore. We've got to figure that out.
We've tried, and we're dying to down the road.
I know.
But, you know, the 3 schools need to play each other and determine that on the field.
Right before the playoffs, Tate's Creek comes to town to give you a breather.
Another 6A school.
Yeah.
They've got a couple of D1 recruits that are really outstanding as well. They've got a running back and an offensive lineman. They're being recruited by some big schools, UK involved, and very good, talented outfit, and have been for a long, long time. So, again, like I said, there's no easy game. There's no games where you can sit back and catch your breath and say, well, this is going to be an easy week. Every week is bring it hard as you can.
You'll sell them the ticket for the whole seat, but
there
they'll
you
use
go.
the edge. I'm going to use your line. Again, we've talked a lot about a lot of other things, but you only lost 5 players off of a team last year that played kind of deep into the season. You're not empty this year.
Well, it's one of the biggest senior classes we've had since I've been there.
Yes.
It's been a long time. And the thing about these seniors is they've all played. They've all been, most of them have been starters 2 years, 3 years. So they've got a lot of experience. So that's got to play into our hands, hopefully, as an advantage. And if our young players can come along and develop as we hope that they can, we've got a chance to have a good football team. I'm not going to lie about it. A lot of good things have got to happen for us. We've got to stay healthy. We've got to continue to work hard and have that desire, because to accomplish the things that last year's team accomplished took a tremendous amount of hard work, and everybody's got to understand that. But we've got some potential.
We're at Buffalo Wings and Rings on South Highway 27, drink specials and 79-cent wings on Tuesdays. Mike, get into personnel.
I want a basket of them wings. Okay. I don't know if I got the 79 cent or not, but we'll figure that out.
I tell you, I don't mean to cut you off again, but you're talking about Buffalo Wings and Rings. We love this place. This is a terrific place, and we're thrilled about it. A guy named Jonathan Muse, one of the proprietors of it, is a former Maroon.
Yes.
Got his son, Coney Nichols, is in our program. So it's great to have a Maroon place right down here in the middle of the South End.
And
we're kind of excited about that right
there.
They
even let you on the big screen in there. You're on the big
Well, hey,
screen.
they might as well. They reserve me a table over there. I'm in there quite often.
All right, let's talk a little bit about this football team. Obviously, I like to talk about defense, but we're going to start on offense because you lost a pretty big cog out of the middle of this offense who's over at Kentucky Wesleyan now, and Wiley Kane. And he threw up some crazy numbers last year. I don't know that as the season went along, I will relate it to the Jake Johnson pass-catching thing one year. You just didn't really grasp how much was being done. Wiley is going to be a big piece of the puzzle that's got to be replaced.
Well, he is. He had a fantastic senior year, had a great career.
He did.
Finished as one of the top passers in one of the top 10 passers in the history of Kentucky high school football. And when you're talking about that, you're talking about Tim Couch and, go on and on with these great players that Kentucky has put out. So wish him good luck at Wesleyan. But big shoes to fill. We got a young player named Drew Polston, Tiger, affectionately known as Tiger. I'm not real sure where that came from, but he'll be a sophomore, and he's assumed the role of that quarterback position. And we're really high on Tiger. He's a young player, obviously, but got all the talent and all the skills to be a good quarterback in our system. And he's had a great camp. I think he's chomping at the bit to get going, and I think you're going to be impressed. We've had a long line of really good quarterbacks. We've talked about it many times. You go way back to the Cold Drawn years. We've had some great quarterbacks along through those years, and we believe Drew Polston's just going to be the next one.
That's high praise.
You got Polston as a new quarterback coming in. The rest of the skill people around him have been there a while.
Well, as you said, we've got a lot of experience coming back. Obviously, it all starts with Jake Sloan. He's one of the top. I think he's in 5th place right now as we start the season all time in Kentucky in receptions, and got a chance to climb up that ladder. He was leading receiver in the state last year. I don't know what else he can do to prove his worth. He's a tremendous receiver, already committed to Eastern Kentucky University, so we're excited about that too. But Jake on the outside gives us a target to throw to. Grant Oaks is another big target to be a senior playing tight end. Grant broke out last year as a tight end and had a fantastic season. Missed a few games with injury, but had some fantastic stats and some fantastic games. Jake Shepard is a wide receiver that really turned on last year toward the second half of the season. He'll be a junior. He can do some amazing things. We've got some young players that can fill into those slots. Grayson Turner is a speed burner, only a sophomore that's got an opportunity to get on the field a lot. Braden Gibson is a guy who had a great spring and was in the slot in the position to take over one of those wide receiver positions. He's been slowed in camp by an injury, but he's come back strong now and making up some progress. We've got some young players. Chandler Godby is a dynamite young freshman receiver. Brady Kane, who, same Kane family.
Same bunch, yes.
He's an outstanding young receiver. Logan Godsey's another one. Christian Slavey is a tight end that's making a lot of progress. He'll be a sophomore this year. Aiden Wesley's another tight end, will be a sophomore that's showing a lot of promise. Taylor Robbins is a freshman tight end. Adam Murphy's been injured, so he's missed a lot of time, but that's another in the tight end list. And really proud of all those guys that are going to be out there catching the football. The best thing about all of those guys, and I hope I didn't leave anybody out, Gustavo's another one, young freshman Gustavo, who's getting it. He's starting to get it. But the great thing about those guys is that they really catch the ball well, and that's kind of an oversimplification. But when you call a pass play, no matter how well you schemed it, how well you block, how well you protect, how well the quarterback delivers the ball, if you drop the ball, it's a wasted play. So you got to catch the ball, and these guys do a great job of catching the football.
I think he would be preaching to the choir right now, don't you and I, that we've made the comment several times over the last few years that the number of drops just almost disappeared. it used to be common during a game. You'd look back and you say there's 7, 8, 10 drop balls during a game. It just doesn't happen. Last year you threw it a lot.
We did.
By necessity almost.
Yes.
I assume this year, if you have your way, we'll go back to a little bit more of a balance between run and pass.
Well, that's always the plan at this time of year. But sometimes those things just don't work out.
Everybody has a plan.
Yeah, until it is.
Until they get it in the mouth.
But, no, we didn't plan to throw the ball as much as we did last season going into the season. It just sort of worked out that way. We struggled running the football. Our offensive line, as the season wore on, became a very good pass-protecting line. And, of course, Wiley was the type of guy that could sit back there in the pocket and spray it all over the field. We had good receivers, and we just kind of evolved into a more of a passing offense than a running offense. I don't know whether that's going to happen this year or not. We'll just have to wait and see how it goes. Also, in that receiver core, I failed to mention a young guy named Kanan Daniels who plays all over the field.
Right.
Who may be in the starting lineup.
He sure might. He's a receiver as well. Don't want to leave him out. But, we've got to do a better job. We feel like we've got to do a better job running the football this year than we did last year. And that's not to put pressure on anybody, any ball carrier, any offensive lineman. It's just something we've got to do better. We didn't do it well last year. We've got to do it better this year. So if we can have the same explosiveness in the passing game that we've had, and then at the same time improve our running game, then we got a chance to be good.
Well, the Hogs up front got to come into this conversation then at some point in time. I mean, you've got an offensive line that obviously Holt's missing from, who went on and he's over at Kentucky Wesleyan. But you've got some familiar names, but only a couple of those guys have really taken all that many snaps as a starter.
Well, we got 4 back that'll be seniors that have been starters
right
at some time in the past. So we'll start with those guys. Paul Judd is a guy that's back, played center last year, and we had moved him out to offensive tackle in spring practice and in the early part of camp. He can play either spot. Ethan Fuentes, of course, has been a starter at offensive tackle since his late in his freshman year.
Yep.
Dylan Hughes broke in the lineup last year as a started offensive guard. He's back. Michael Hines was in and out of the lineup a lot last year and played a whole lot at a guard and a tackle, can play either position. Jordan Lanner is a guy that's played primarily defense last year but can play both sides of the ball, and you'll see him on both sides of the ball quite a bit. So those are the guys that are experienced that we've had. And you mentioned Ethan Holt. We want to wish him good luck at Wesleyan as well. We lost that guy, but everybody else played a lot last year out of those offensive linemen. So now you add to the mix some young guys. We've had a good battle over the course of summer camp with a young sophomore at center, Jackson Whitaker, and a young freshman in Declan Hayes, and it's a pretty good battle. Right now, I think Hayes is pushed ahead just a little bit, but that's competition every day. Sophomore Connor Lanner's a guy that can play center and guard, can fill in there. Devin Wesley's a young guard coming on. Christian Guerrero got the start in our very first scrimmage at offensive tackle because of some injuries. He's going to be a sophomore. I guess I said that. He's got a lot of potential as well. Ben Dalton's a young guy that never played football before. Be a freshman. He's a big, good-sized kid, and he's come out and done well. He's got a lot to learn, but he's going to be a good player if he'll hang in there with it down the road. Tanner Gotts will be a sophomore. Jason Bates is a young freshman that's going to be an outstanding player. Jason McEwen is another freshman offensive lineman. Christopher James will be a sophomore. Carter Kring's a sophomore lineman who's more of a defensive lineman probably down the road than an offensive lineman. But all these guys have got opportunities. Tucker Vaught's a freshman lineman. Elias Sanchez is another one that can play either side of the ball. They've all been down the road before, and they've got a chance to get in the mix and possibly get on the field a little bit. So it's a lot of competition to see who's going to get those reps.
Oh, by the way, who's going to carry it?
Well, we still don't know that.
We were dancing around that, weren't we?
We've got some good running backs, and again, last year we were kind of running back by committee, and looking to be that way probably as we start out this year as well. Trey Price is the leader in the B-back category, in their fullback category. We're a little worried about Trey. He had a shoulder injury in practice this week. We're hoping he's going to be okay. But Tristan Cox, of course, has been our leading ball carrier for the last couple of years. He's back as a junior. Evan Mercer's a guy that can run with the football. Devin Tolson, even, who's as a defensive lineman standout, is a good enough athlete to run with the football, and we'll see that some as well. Caleb Adams is back with us, is a slot receiver / running back type guy. Evan Cherry's a guy that can play either of those slots back there. Kanan Daniels, we mentioned before, who can play it all. CD can play back there as well. So Cody Nichols, I mentioned earlier, young freshman that's coming into the program. And Donovan Abbott is a young freshman running back who's really been spectacular as well. So all of those guys at some point you'll probably see on the field. Who's going to get it more than any other? Right now we can't answer that. But what we're looking at is all those guys getting a touch here or there, and whoever is impressive will get more, and we'll see who distances themselves from the pack.
All right, that's a look at all the let's see, that sells tickets, offense. Defense wins championships.
Amen.
I want to talk about defense because your defense is predicated on you having some pretty good linebackers, some guys up front that'll do all the dirty work, and some guys on the top end who can keep people from getting around them. I look at this football team. If you're healthy, you may have the best overall crew of linebackers I've seen, because the numbers are 6 or 7 there of guys who can play. And you're going to have to find places for some of those guys maybe out of position a little bit, or is that going to happen?
Well, you got to do the best you can to put the best players on the field.
Right.
I mean, that's what coaching is, and to put the best team out there that we can put together. And we've got a lot of experience at those linebacking positions. And I think it is a good crew. And you mentioned linebacking crews. You go back a few years to guys like Jesse Whitaker and Mason Helton and Ricky Maxey. And,
that was a pretty good crew.
That bunch could play too.
Yeah,
So, but anyway, I agree with you. I think that we've got some guys that have been through the ringer. It all starts and ends with Connor Hargis, who was All-State honorable mention as a sophomore, started his very first game as a freshman and has never looked back.
Got a shot at being your all-time leading tackler,
Got a
he?
chance to pass Ricky Maxey and be the all-time leading tackler. He sure does.
By the way, that list has got about 5 in front of him. That's a who's who of Pulaski football if you look at that.
It is. Connor's been spectacular his whole career, and we expect nothing less this season. Of course, Tristan Cox moved to linebacker last year, so we're looking forward to him being a little more at home. He kind of had to learn on the run last year at the inside linebacker spot, so he's back. We're excited about that. We've got a young sophomore named Leighton Abbott that is a hard hitter that'll be all over the field. Another Abbott, Donnie Abbott, who's only going to be a freshman, is another. Both those Abbott guys, when you call those Abbott names, you're going to be talking about people getting hit. They like to run and hit you, and they're doing a great job. And then behind them is Willie Nelson, who's a very solid, be a junior player. Josh New, who's a younger brother of a guy named Jake New that played a few years ago. Josh is with us, and will be a sophomore, I'm sorry. And then Drew Durham will also be a sophomore, so that's our inside linebacking crew. On the outside, you got returning starter in Chase Parmley on the strong side, and actually returning starter in Evan Mercer, who, as you mentioned, we've kind of shifted positions with Evan, which I'll get back to in a minute. Zach Huff has really been outstanding in fall camp and done a great job in those first 2 scrimmages, and he's looking to hold down the weak side linebacker position. He's a playmaker. He's one of those guys that you look at, if he walked in here and you think there's no way that kid can be a football player, but he makes plays. He's just one that makes plays. So we're excited about what he can do. Caden Dobbs is back as well, be a senior. He can play both outside spots. He's also getting a little work at defensive end. He's a guy that we can utilize in a lot of different places. Kai Witt's a young freshman linebacker. Braden Gibson's a guy that played safety. We've moved to outside linebacker recently, and so looking for him to make some noise there. He's a guy that'll hit you. So there's some guys along those outside linebacker spots that we think can get the job done.
That's John Hines. We're going to let him take a drink of water. We're going to remind you, we are at Buffalo Wings and Rings on South Highway 27. Our preseason look at football. John, you are the third of 3 tonight. We've been here for a while. They've got 79
Hold it now. Pulaski's the first of the 3. Let's get that right. And we got that backwards.
We save the best for last.
In the order of the broadcast.
We got to have fun with it.
Exactly. The broadcast, you were number 3 tonight. Okay. they have 79
3 in the broadcast and 1 in your heart.
They have 79-cent wings here until we wrap this thing up tonight. They might even keep it going a little later than that. Who knows? But the turnout has been great. The enthusiasm in this town is good. I know we're not ready to go down there. We've still got to talk about the secondary and the D-line. And the D-line in your defense probably do more, get dirtier, get beat up on more than anybody else on the field and get their names called the least of anybody else on that defense.
Probably true, and that's the way the defense is kind of designed to work. But when those guys do a good job, it makes it all click. And so we've got to have some guys that make it happen up front, and we're proud of those guys as well. Jordan Lanner is our senior nose tackle who's been a 3-year starter there. We're proud of him. Devin Tolson on the weak side is as athletic a defensive lineman as we've had. You got to go back to the Blake Gum era to find one that matches his athleticism. He can be something special. Young Ryan Dye has plugged in at that other spot. Ryan will be a sophomore, and he's just an old-fashioned tough hombre and has done a great job there. We're proud of him. I mentioned Caden Dobbs, who's worked some at defensive end. Aiden Wesley's a guy that played linebacker last year. We moved him down to defensive end. He's taken off there and done a good job. Connor Lanner, Jordan's younger brother, can play there as well. Tucker Vaught. Elias Sanchez will be a senior, gives us some depth there. Tanner Godsey, Devin Wesley. Taylor Robbins is a freshman that can play at that defensive end spot. Jason McEwen, who's been slowed by some injury, but he's a freshman that shows a lot of promise. And Christopher James as well can play that spot. So a lot of guys there to filter in. Carter Kring, I mentioned earlier, is probably a better defensive lineman than offensive lineman at this point. He's going to get a lot of work there. So all those guys are getting reps and hopefully getting better and building some depth there.
The secondary has been reworked a little bit since last year, but a lot of the names are familiar.
Well, they are, and that's one of the probably, I guess, the major change that you're going to see. Evan Mercer moving to the secondary. We've always flirted with Evan as a secondary player. He's a very good athlete. He's a tall, rangy kid, very fast, and really there's not a lot of difference between the strong safety position and the weak side linebacker position, which he's played last year. So we took the opportunity to work him some in the secondary just to see what it would be like early on in camp, and it looks good. So we've made the move with Evan Mercer to go to a free safety position and speed up our secondary a little bit. Jake Shepard, who's a very good athlete, had been playing free safety. Moved him over to cornerback so he can play corner and safety. Gives us a lot of flexibility there. Jericho Dixon will be a sophomore who grabbed a starting spot last year as a freshman. Had some injuries that slowed him. Ethan Mills, who will be a junior, came in there and played a lot, and they kind of split time at that position. And then the other cornerback slot's been held down by Caleb Adams, who's done a terrific job. You all remember Caleb played as a freshman, and then for some reason got disillusioned, didn't play football last year. We were brokenhearted about it. He's come back to us and done a great job as a cornerback and also a wide receiver and a slot receiver, which you'll see him on the offensive side. I don't know if I mentioned that a minute ago.
You did.
But he can do a lot of things, be a kick return, punt return type guy. So Caleb Adams is a special one to have. And that's looking like the top 5 guys in the secondary right now. I mentioned Kanan Daniels, who can do it all. He's in there as well as a corner. He can play back there. Evan Cherry's a young guy that's really shown a lot of promise. Evan's had some injuries. It's been frustrating for him. He's missed a lot of practice time, but he's coming on now. Skylar Sharp will be a sophomore, is a guy that can play really all the secondary positions. Christian Slavey will be a sophomore as a safety. Brady Kane, Logan Godsey, Chandler Godby, Nathan Baker, Caden Emerson, all those guys. Cody Nichols, I mentioned earlier, who's had an injury that's slowed him as a freshman safety. So a lot of guys that can fill into that secondary slot. And I'm really interested in seeing how the JV games work out to see how some of these young players develop, because we got a lot of guys that are just flat dead even at a lot of these positions, on the depth chart. So I'm looking forward to getting some game time under our belts and just see who's going to step up in front of who.
You've also got a freshman quarterback who can throw the football down the field.
Well, he's got an arm, no doubt about that.
We saw that the other night.
We did.
Bryson Duggar is
Wow.
a young athlete. He's really taken off very well, played well in the first 2 scrimmages. He does a good job with the short ones, too.
Yeah.
He can throw it deep, but
I
he does a good
understand.
job with the short ones. He's a fine young quarterback prospect. You know, Brady Kane can also play quarterback. He's come up through the system as a quarterback. We've utilized Brady so far more as a wide receiver, defensive back type player. But Bryson Duggar's a dandy. Caleb Adams played quarterback before, so we've got that experience in our pocket. Kanan Daniels, I told you he plays everywhere. He can play quarterback. We use some of the spring practice with Evan Mercer to do some quarterback work. So, and believe it or not, Jake Sloan could be a quarterback if we had to do that. So we've got a lot of guys that have shown some promise at that position.
Well, let's not forget the kicker.
Good to have him back. Jackson McAlpin will be a senior. Yeah, Mr. Automatic, you know, he just doesn't miss those extra points. Jackson hadn't had a chance to do get many chances at field goals.
Well, that's your
over
fault.
the years.
That's your fault.
It might be, probably is, but you know, he'd be very accurate on short fields. He's a very accurate kicker. Obviously, you look at his record as extra point guy. And he's not Mr. Automatic for nothing. Does a great job with that, and we're thrilled to have Jackson and what he does for us. And it'll be hard to replace.
He will.
Next year when we're, you know, because right now when we get in the end zone, you automatically chalk it up as 7 instead of 6. And those points are big, as we saw. We've talked about 2016. We won a playoff game.
You did.
14-12 because we made 2 extra points that the other team didn't.
Harlan forgot to.
It's huge. It's huge.
Let's talk about the coaches real quick. Not a lot of changes, but some.
Well, actually, we've had some changes in our staff over the last couple of years.
Right.
You know, guys that's been around a long time. Stephen Godby has retired from coaching. And,
we ought to shout out to Coach Godby, too, and he gets
We do.
well. I mean, I saw him and still battling the blood clot. And just
He
as a shout-out.
Had an accident at home and injured his leg,
Yes.
cut his leg really bad, and had to have some surgery. And we think he's going to be okay, but it's a long, slow process. I hope Coach Godby's doing well. Shout out to Coach Dean Wilkes as well. He had an incident at school last week and injured himself. And but he's hanging in there. He's going to be okay. But I was saying, guys that we've had a long time, Coach Godby, guys like Mike Morgan, guys like Joey Warren, who did a good job for us for so long, have retired and left the coaching world. So there's been some turnover. And I think we've got a terrific staff. I really do. I believe that if I've done anything right the last couple of years, it's hire a couple guys, because I just, you know, I heard Hank Aaron say one time he just closed his eyes and swung as hard as he could and hit it out of the ballpark. I think I did that, just to be honest with you. Hiring Dean Wilkes was a huge step for us. We're glad to have Dean as our offensive line coach after many, many years at Lincoln County.
Right.
And we're thrilled to have him on our staff. He does a great job. This year we added Bill Sharp, longtime head coach at Russell County. And he does a great job. He got to that point where we all do at some point. You're tired of being a head coach, don't want to do it anymore. Still had the passion to be a coach and just want to be around the kids and teach football. And he contacted me a long time ago back in the winter just to see if there was anything available, and just so happened it worked out that way, and we're glad to have him. He's made a big a big plus to our staff. And then, of course, we got guys who've been around a long time. Josh Roberts is still with us as defensive coordinator many, many years. He does a great job. Jason Roberts is back with us on the defensive and offensive line. Coach Stan Andrews, Sarge, been around with a long, long time. We're glad to have Sarge. Coach Phil Russell was back with us a couple years ago after an earlier stint several years ago. Glad to have Coach Russell with us. He's got some wide receiver and offensive
He's the
perimeter
calming
duties.
effect.
Yeah, he's the calm guy. That's right. Glad to have him. Jacob Denny has settled in. I think Jacob's in his 4th, 5th year.
Been a while.
I should know that
He
now.
can still play.
He was an awful good player,
He
I'll
was,
tell you
but
that.
if you watch him at practice, he still gets around like he can play.
We got some young guys,
You
know,
do.
Mikey Shepard and Cody Wesley and Jacob Denny. If we're going to have a coach's football game, they're on my team.
Yeah.
Tell you that. But glad to have those guys. And Coach Denny does a great job with the secondary. I mentioned Cody Wesley, who was with us 2 years ago, and then went into some private business and has come back, and we're glad to have him back working with our tight ends and working with our young players. And Mikey Shepard, who we added to the staff a year ago in his 2nd year now, does a great job with our running backs and our cornerbacks, and also working with our young players. So we're thrilled to have all those guys. I believe it's an outstanding football staff. I really do. They do a great job every single day. They work the kids hard, but they love on them, and they do all the right things that you need to do. And I'm proud of the way they work. It's fun to go out on the field when you got great kids to work with and you got a great staff that knows what they're doing. It all makes me look good, so I'm thrilled about that.
We've got a couple of minutes left. Is there anything you want to mention? Anybody you need to shout out to?
Well, we're excited about a lot of things in football, you know that, but we're thrilled about our middle school team as well. We want to shout out to the Northern Maroons, another great season already in the works. We're off and running and won a couple games early. Coach G.J. Woolridge and all the crew up there, we're thrilled for them. Looking forward to seeing those guys play. And I saw Lee Fitzgerald over here a minute ago. I want to shout out to the Pulaski County Youth League. It's the 25th year of the PCYFL, and I've been here for every one of them, baby.
Yeah.
I've been here for every one of them, and I am so thrilled to see how that league has grown. For us to have a chance to be in at the ground level and see how it's grown. I think there are now 30 teams. 10 school teams, each with 3 divisions. You got the Pee-wees and the junior level, senior level, and it's a great league. We got cheerleaders, we got all kind of stuff. You got to get down to Southern Middle School on a Saturday afternoon and watch this youth league. It's really something. And not only are we thrilled with the way that it's going, but all those names we just mentioned, they played in that youth league.
Yeah. Yes.
They played for the Mustangs and for the Tigers and for the Maroons and for the Bulldogs and all those guys. So it's a thrill for us to see that. And we're excited about 25 years of PCYFL, and congratulations to those guys.
Tell them where we're at, and we'll get out of here.
We're on South Highway 27 at Buffalo Wings and Rings. This has been our look at football, our coaches' shows. The thing is, Coach, every time you tee it up this year, whether it's home or away, mostly away, through the end of the season, we'll be right there with you. All the local teams,
yes, sir.
We'll be walking the walk, and we thank you all for all that you do and the access you give us.
We appreciate you guys. LakeCumbersports.com does a great job, and we're thrilled to have you guys on board. Always have. The A-team does a great job. We're excited about Mike Kerr and Paul Wright and Dwayne Clark. We don't know what we'd do without you. And, one last thing before you cut it off, I just want to say good luck to all of our guys that are in college football camps right now.
Right.
Zach Ferris is over at Marshall, and we mentioned Wiley and Ethan Holt at Wesley and Jake Johnson at Georgetown College. Ethan Casadas at Campbellsville University. And then over at Lindsey Wilson, we got three old Maroons and Cullen Cox, Jackson Mobley, and Mason Helton. So we're thrilled for all those guys and wish them the best season that they can have.
See you Friday night.
Thank you, man.
Our thanks to Johnny Hines and to Jason Foley and to Robbie Lucas, all the folks here at Buffalo Wings and Rings.
79 cents. You
yes,
can still
sir. Get them. For Mike Kerr.
The Buffalo chicken dip's awesome, too.
Before we go, let's talk.
Hey, come on in.
Come on in.
Like I said, this guy's a Maroon, so it's great to have a Maroon place down here on the south end.
You jump in now. Stay with him and talk football.
I'd be glad to.
All right, let's go.
I got one quick story.
All right.
A long time ago, when John Kane was the head coach, I'm an assistant coach. We lost our offensive line coach. We didn't have an offensive line coach.
Right.
I honestly felt like over the years that I had coached, I could coach about any position on the field except offensive line. I didn't know a single thing about offensive line. Coach Kane comes to me and says, we need an offensive line coach. Yeah, we do. He said, I want you to coach offensive line. I said, we need an offensive line coach. So I had to spend a year coaching the offensive line. I had no idea what I was doing, and I learned a lot and became a better coach because of it. It was a great experience for me. But I learned a lot. But we had a good team and a good offensive line. But it wasn't because of the O-line coach. But this guy was on that offensive line, did a great job. And I'll never forget those guys. Jonathan Muse, appreciate you, man.
No, we appreciate you, Coach. Have you learned anything about offensive line yet?
Well, more than I knew.
Okay, well, as long as you know more than you knew before.
So you guys had success in spite of him.
Yeah, we
That's
did.
exactly right.
We did.
How's the night going for you?
Everything's been great, man. It's awesome to have all the local sports out. Every team's represented. Coach Hines, as he said, and I'm an old Maroon myself. My son is one of those new Maroons that's coming in this year, so it's awesome. And sports around the town, football, and Coach Hines talked about it. PCYFL has really done an awesome job. Southwestern and PC are just, to look and see how far they've come in the last 25 years. Where every year you look at the 5A standings, and there they are at the top. And it's great to see because we didn't always get those back when I was around, Coach.
Well, you guys, I say it all the time, you guys were the foundation for our program because You know, Pulaski football wasn't very good way back then, and those guys were, you know, you had guys that wanted to work hard and wanted to win. They just wanted to win some games, and to see it grow from that to what it's become has been a thrill for me just to watch over the years. But it took guys like Jonathan Muse and all of his teammates to build those foundations over the years.
Got to be put out there, yeah.
So that program can grow.
Yes, sir. We appreciate you having us out.
No,
we
loved it.
We will be back. And
well, I'll say one more thing about Buffalo Wings and Rings too. By the way,
sure,
the food is good.
Yeah.
Yes,
it's good. Come on down
the
here now. I'm here quite often.
Are tremendous.
Buffalo chicken
they
dip.
Really are.
Awesome.
These guys are here 2-3 times a week.
Yeah, well,
it seems like at lunch, you know.
One of the things we do is eat well. I just tell you.
Right. They have meetings, you know, where they
we have
all
yeah.
stuff.
There you go. Take it off my taxes. But like I said, we'll be around a couple more times. We'll have some coaches shows later, and invite everybody to come out on Tuesdays for the 79-cent wings, and for any other time for. I'm gonna try some of the shrimp. That's on this week's agenda.
Man, you're missing out.
I'm going to. I have not.
That's one thing. I think a lot of people don't really realize that is we actually do have good food here. It's not just, you know, sort of the quote-unquote sports bar food. It's
see, that's the reason I haven't had the shrimp yet. The burgers are so good.
Yeah, I know. You can't get off of them.
Exactly.
Right?
And don't forget the wings. They're pretty good, too.
Yeah, they're pretty dang good. They're all right.
I want to thank Jonathan Muse, thank Johnny Hines, all the folks at Lake Cumberland Sports, all the folks here at Buffalo Wings and Rings. Until next time, good night.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate you having us, man.
Appreciate it.